Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very good. Warm, hot,
Really?
summertime. I've probably jinxed it now, but today was quite a nice day.
Oh, it's nice. Yeah. Cool.
How's everything on your end?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah. I really enjoyed that movie that I told you about. It was actually a surprise because we were watching looking for something like post-apocalyptic to watch,
Mm.
and we didn't know what to expect. But it's like it's very simple, right? It's like it's not a sophisticated movie.
Yeah.
Uh, just for the those who are joining us, the movie I'm talking about is called Mortal Engines, and it's from 2018, and it's starring Hugo Weaving, who is, as we know, like Agent Smith and all that, great actor. It's very fun to watch because it's like styled in this what's this name of this like kind of steampunk, right? So it's all like
Okay.
kind of steampunk style. Yeah, and the story is that there is like a post-apocalyptic world where like people need to move in order to find food. So instead of like just moving around, they take their entire cities and they put them on wheels. So the main city in the movie is actually London. So like there is a London, a small London moving on these like huge like tank like tracks, and it has like a big band, and the St. Paul's Cathedral there, and it's like moving around and like eating other European cities as it moves around Europe.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really kind of crazy and trashy, but in a good way. Like it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the script is very simple, but it's fun to watch, and yeah, like we really enjoyed it. And it's made in New Zealand, so it makes it special.
Nice. I'll be sure to check it out. I I like New Zealand films, but usually hate when it's New Zealand comedy for some reason. I
Ah,
don't know
I,
what.
I don't think I ever saw. The couple of movies that I did watch were more like dramatically oriented. So if you can recommend a good New Zealand or like any New Zealand comedy for that matter.
I'm the worst person to ask regards comedy in general, but especially New Zealand comedy. Uh, I do have some recommendations. I'll share them with you.
Yeah, thank you. That would be nice. Yeah, so as you can probably kind of gather, it's going to be a relatively light and easy space. We do have some updates, but not too many compared to the previous weeks. And we're going to answer obviously the questions that we have from the community, which also we currently have quite a few. So if you have any additional questions, please be sure to send them either via Telegram or Twitter, and we will try to answer them. Uh, the first kind of story that I think only the laziest of people and their mothers do not talk about is Ledger. You probably heard about that epic
Yeah, there was a lot of
shit show.
yeah. I mean, in true Ledger fashion, there was also very poor like communications around the shit show as well. I remember when there was that data leak they had. I think they like leaked the whole Ledger database and addresses
Yeah,
and this kind of stuff. And I remember then like their comms being so bad and like almost embarrassingly so, and they've stuck to it and done it again. But what was
yeah. So now the Twitter is full of videos of people smashing their ledgers and throwing them away and all kind of yeah. Uh, but so first of all, like just to kind of really briefly, like they have published this. I would say press release that they're going to have an update to their firmware that will allow cloud backup for the for this. I'm sorry, I can't talk about it without laughing because it's like the craziest idea ever. So your most important secret that should be kind of kept safe at all costs, and that's why you invested your few $100 and bought this device, and it should never leave the device, like never. And then suddenly they release this feature that allows you to backup it on cloud, with all of these kind of sharding and whatever. But the fact is that now there is an API that allows to do that, and who knows, like, it's not open source, so we cannot know whether it's buggy or not. And they release it as a firmware update, which is also like a poor decision. I mean, you could have created, I don't know, maybe another device for that, or done something, differently. And then, as they're trying to explain it, they say something like, "Yeah, but we always could have written this firmware update, and you wouldn't have known if we didn't tell you. You had to trust us."
Yeah.
And this was like such such weirdly, put sentence. Like, it's exactly the opposite of probably what they were trying to
Yeah.
communicate. But you know, and a lot of people understood it as like, wait a second, is it out right now? Can you get my seed right now, or do I still need to get an update? And one of the things that triggered me the most was the CoinDesk article. Like, CoinDesk are just unbelievable pieces of shit. I mean, like, it's crazy. And they did like this article which says, Ledger said that they could get your seed anytime, even today, right? And I'm like, wait a second, that's not what they said. They said they could write a firmware update that could do that, but it's not. It doesn't mean that currently your ledgers are not safe, or whatever, the ledgers that were not updated.
Yeah.
And I mean, people are panicking as it is, and people are freaking out. And instead of kind of trying to provide more useful information, that's what you are doing. You're jumping on this bandwagon and just, put a lot more fuel into the fire. And then I remembered, and probably not a lot of people know this story, but when we just launched in 2019, I think it was a week after the launch, we found a bug in the wallet. And
Yeah.
back then I was very young and inexperienced, and I tweeted, or I said on Telegram, like, listen, there is a bug in the wallet, do not use it, we're releasing an update, or something like that. And then we fixed the bug, released the update, everything was fine. And then the CoinDesk published an article which said, Beam Wallet put users at risk. And it's like,
Uh,
you
yeah.
remember that? Yeah. Like, wait a second, the bug was already fixed. And like, yeah, but put sounds the same in all tenses, right? It could be past tense, it could be present
Yeah.
tense. Maybe now you're at risk, maybe you're already not at risk. And it was such a kind of, you know, such a nasty move, this kind of using this. And that's exactly what they're doing right now with Ledger. They're basically just, misleading everyone, and, basically spreading misinformation. And being CoinDesk, which is one of the largest and most read, I believe, crypto portals and kind of news. A lot of people get their news from CoinDesk, probably. I think it's just, very bad practice, and I really wish they didn't do this shit.
Yeah. I mean, totally agree. And like, as you said, CoinDesk is, I mean, it reminds me of some of the shitty, like, gossip mags that come out, The Sun and The Mirror and shit like this. It's like,
Yeah,
what are
but
you
the thing
doing?
is, with the sun, you know what you're
Yeah,
getting,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
When you get the sun, you're like,
True, yeah.
you're yeah, you know what you're going to read there. But in Conda's case, it's more kind of, they're trying to position themselves as a kind of
Yeah,
serious news organization, but in truth is they jump on a lot of clickbait titles and things like that.
yeah,
Yeah. So that was kind of one of the stories that were very loud in the past couple of days. Another story, which I think is also very important, is the new regulation on crypto, both in Europe and in the States.
yeah. I didn't,
Are you following this?
I saw briefly the Europe one and saw like $20 billion fine or something. I think it was million, but some ridiculous stuff like that. But I didn't like read into it too much. But I didn't see what the States was proposing.
Yeah. So I think the most talked about topic in the European version was the kind of ubiquitous KYC for everyone who is dealing with crypto.
Yeah.
Like if you are touching crypto, you need to KYC
Yeah.
everyone.
If you send your friend some money on whatever chain, you need to KYC them and report it to the government. And
Something like that. Yeah, I mean that's exactly the problem because nobody is saying something very specific. It's all very vague, but
yeah.
like it's not now. It's like in 2 years or in a year, so it's not like active right now, this regulation. But this is the direction everything is
Okay.
going. In the United States, it's even worse because I mean I'm not really an expert in any kind of legal matters, but the problem is that they it's not just like they cannot decide exactly what crypto even is. Like, is it a security? Is it a commodity? There are some kind of weird statements, something like if I don't know, a commodity exchange lists crypto, then it's a commodity or stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think they were talking specifically about CME, which is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or
Okay.
something. And like, okay, so that's who decides whether crypto is a commodity or not?
Mm,
Like, how does that work? And instead of just, kind of trying to, I don't know, figure something out, what is happening is that there is a lot of different kind of pieces of information flying around, each more confusing than the other. And nobody actually knows how to take it. That's why, like, there is such uncertainty in whether like who can invest, where, like what's going on, and obviously that's not helping
yeah.
anyone.
And it seems not just a problem like the uncertainty outside of like within crypto, but also within like the agencies in the US. It doesn't seem like even they can agree on what's what. So how is anyone else meant to know? Unfair.
No, totally. That's exactly what they are trying. They're actually fighting each other, like
Yeah.
who is going to regulate it. The SEC versus the CFTC and all of these, other
Yeah.
abbreviations.
And it's not like
Um,
they haven't had time to figure shit out. Like, yeah.
12 years is nothing in government
Yeah.
time.
True.
Basically happened overnight for them. I think the most kind of the biggest trigger was FTX after all.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of different kinds of scams, but I think FTX was, the size that kind of caught everyone's attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And the knock on effect that came with it. Uh yeah. I mean
And due to the fact that it was like very kind of US based and
yeah.
kind of regulated, and even if it wasn't really, but yeah, that's why like it's this sentiment of protecting US citizens from fraud and all that really sparked that. And the size of the collapse and the size of the of the shit show there was like that, they couldn't ignore it anymore, and now they're like running, trying to run and quickly fix things, which probably will not go as planned, but that's what we have to live with.
Yeah. I saw obviously far less significant than the States, but I saw that the UK, let me find it. The UK suggested, but I don't know who it was suggesting it, the Treasury or something. They suggest, UK Parliament Committee says that crypto is akin to gambling. And they were suggesting like to
Ah,
regulate it how or in a similar fashion to gambling is regulated.
yeah, it's like I mean, I understand kind of the urge of someone who doesn't understand crypto to kind of sweep it all under the same
Yeah.
title, because in within crypto there are a lot of different types of projects and coins and whatever. Like you have Bitcoin and you have Pepe, and you cannot compare the two in any
No.
way, right? This is the meme
Yeah.
coin, and this is Bitcoin, which is like real money if there is such a thing. And you have Ethereum, and you have I don't know, other platforms, and you have Monero, and you have Beam. So you cannot really kind of say this is crypto. It's
Yeah,
like saying, I don't know, these are, I don't know, cars, but there are different cars. There are like Formula One cars, and there are like trucks, and there are regular cars. So that's what's happening right now. So, and that's why it is never going to work. Like when if you're trying to regulate crypto, it's nonsense. You have to start understanding exactly what you're regulating and the different types of projects that you have. So
absolutely. And
uh,
also like the different products that people are using to like use crypto, whether it's like leveraged exchanges or, I mean, going 100 times on BitMEX or whatever is probably akin to gambling. But like you said, buying spot BTC is pretty chilled, and so it's very strange, or would be strange if they lumped it all into one kind of thing.
yeah, I think from what I hear, this is what they're trying to do because uh, I don't like watch too many, but I watch a few videos of kind of all kinds of hearings and people real like government officials trying to explain themselves. I never heard anyone uh, even remotely understanding or trying to say, okay, listen, we have several different kinds, and this is probably more like a commodity, and this is probably more like a security. It's all always like yeah, crypto this and crypto that. So that's immediately I feel this weird like distrust and feeling that they don't understand what they're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I assume that it's like this. I assume that like every industry feels like this. Like, what is the government doing with that industry?
Yeah, but the point is like some things they kind of tend to settle over time. And I believe the crypto or like all this kind of regulation will as well. But now we are in the very beginning of this process, and it is, it's very popular to like you have to talk about it, but when you talk without understanding, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like a bunch of nonsense, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So another interesting story that happened was that Ethereum tried to copy Beam in stopping
I
twice.
saw
Like not exactly
this.
stopping, but yeah, stop. They didn't finalize the blocks for a long
Yeah.
time.
And
I didn't.
can you
Yeah.
like, I, I'm a I'm a technological noob. Can you explain like, I understand that the blocks weren't finalized, but I don't really know what any of that means and what the like actual implications at the time were. Can you explain it briefly?
So I can try, but I'm not an expert in the subject. But in simple terms, the post proof of stake Ethereum, each block is first validated, so it becomes part of the blockchain. But then, after some time, it is finalized, which means that the blockchain cannot roll back past that block.
Okay.
Um, we have something similar, a little bit similar in Beam. We have this periodic checkpoint, which only allows you to roll back 60 blocks before you need manual intervention. Like so, you have like 1 hour kind of like finality of the blockchain. Once again, it can be rolled back, but the node will not do it automatically in Beam.
Okay.
So in Ethereum, it's something similar. And due to some bugs, which I don't exactly know what they were, but uh, it, there are like you have two layers in Ethereum right now. You have the consensus layer, which is the one that runs the proof of stake, and then you have the execution layer, which is the one that runs the smart contract. So the consensus layer is responsible for approving and finalizing blocks. And there was a bug in the client at that layer, and for some reason the blocks were not finalized for a long time. So the blockchain did not stop; like the blocks did create, but the finalization process didn't happen. It happened twice, and both times it was about between 30 and 45 minutes, something like that. And they have, I think, finally released updates to the Prism and the other clients that are responsible for the consensus layer. So now it should be okay. But yeah, it was kind of a rare occurrence.
Nice. I saw a bit of talk about that and like some discussion, or someone said that Ethereum broke, and then Ethereum maxis getting offended, saying that it wasn't actually broken, and so it was. I mean, as with anything in crypto, it's hard to decipher what on earth is really happening.
Yeah, that's exactly like I mean, this specific thing is not special to crypto. It's hard to
Yeah,
decipher what happens with almost anything these days.
absolutely.
Uh, but I think that it's an incident. It was handled relatively quickly and professionally. So yeah, like, you know, it's it's working. The serum is working. It's
Yeah,
fine. No need to
seems
yeah,
like a
no need to worry
seems
too
like a
much.
non-event in the grand scheme of things. As with like the beam incident, I mean, things get fixed and keep going.
Yeah, like I actually really appreciated the support and the assistance that we got from the miners that helped us with the logs, helped us to understand like what was happening because it was a relatively kind of like not like rare bug that we could not have caught easily in the testing scenario. It was something that only could happen in the wild, and they really kind of stood up and helped us with figuring out why that happened. So yeah, it was I think very good, and also the community support, and so it was amazing. Speaking speaking of the community and moving to Beam in general. So first of all, the Beam assets. Did you see the latest update to the beamassets.com website?
I saw the talk of what was happening, but I haven't checked it out. Is the new site live?
Yes,
Oh,
beamassets.com. Go there. Like it's my almost like I use it every
yeah.
day,
Obviously.
many times a day. I think I don't even close this tab because what Beamassets has done is added the charts for the DEX, and now you can see the prices on the DEX for all the pools and all of the transactions that happened in this pool.
This is very cool. Love it.
Yeah, yeah. And there is also an interface to trade through this website if you connect your web wallet.
Nice.
Yeah. And it really shows like the statistics and how the prices changed and like really informative. And I monitor a few pools, obviously, the BNB Max, the BNB Fleet, and like it's, you know, it's amazing upgrade, right? Like it was done using the wallet API. It's not even an explorer, so it's really like live information from the contract without any delay. So yeah, I think it's an amazing job. And like check it out if you haven't already. Really useful resource.
It's very cool. I just brought it up and checked it out. Absolutely wicked job, and huge props to dash 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 dash, I
Yes.
believe.
um, so speaking of the web wallet, like don't tell anyone, but it's actually live in the Chrome store right now. The reason we do not PR it right now is because it's the kind of first version after the manifest upgrade, and it still has a few issues, and kind of UI and usability bugs that we want to fix before we start really advertising it. But if you are into doing some testing and playing with it, you can go to the Chrome store and get the Beam Web Wallet for your Chrome browser or any Chromium-based browser. And if you then go to dex.beam.mw, you will see that the DEX application is already on the web. And we're talking mainnet, and you can trade on DEX using your web wallet.
Wicked. This is very
Um,
cool.
yeah. So right now, what we're waiting for is two things. First of all, to fix these issues in the web wallet that we found, and also to complete the update of the web versions of all the other dApps that we have. And then you will have this experience of going into like a dApp Store web page or something, and just clicking on any dApp you want and start trading and playing with it using your web wallet. So this is going to be an important upgrade in terms of bringing new users. You can just send a link and say, "Oh, here you can come, to this dApp and just start using it without downloading the wallet, installing it, and all of this." And then, of course, like if you want to get kind of more serious and more secure, then you will install the desktop wallet. But you will get the experience of being immediately without any hassle, which is important.
Absolutely. And then if you want to get slightly less secure, you can go on ledger.com and buy a hardware wallet and get your
Yeah, now that we support Ledger, for God's sake, I mean, come on.
Oh, that's very cool though. Like I've I've been excited for this, being able to like interact with dApps from a web page, simply for the fact that I think it creates a far smaller like burden on the user in terms of setting up a wallet, getting into the ecosystem, and this kind of stuff. So I think this will be very cool for bringing in new Beamers and getting them involved with the dApps that we currently have and playing around.
Yeah, as long as you don't keep a huge amount of money in your web wallet, like you only use it for like, trading.
Yeah, exactly.
So while we're on the topic of updates, so the web wallet is one, mobile wallet is also in testing right now, and I hope really to launch it next week. Um, And another important thing, like in terms of next development stages, is we're starting to build the app for crowdfunding, donations, and kind of these funding activities. So, like if you are building something on Beam and you want, to get funding in various terms, so we will be able to do this using a smart contract as well. Yeah, so that's coming up, I hope, soon.
This is cool.
Um,
Oh, and
yeah,
also
it
like a very
is.
good time for this. I mean, Beam Assets is coming from the community. Magic Potato is doing an absolute stellar job with the website, and I expect more and more to come through as well.
Yeah. Uh, so absolutely, like, and we are actively looking for ideas, to build, as dApps on Beam, especially things that are engaging for newcomers, people who just want to kind of experience Web3 on Beam and, play with something, whether it's a small game or a kind of, I don't know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a financial application or something as heavy as Nefrit or Dex, but we do kind of try to collect ideas and build smaller apps which are like nice and easy to start with. So if you have such ideas, please bring them to us. And in order to forward this kind of idea of developing on Beam even further, I thought we could have a hackathon, something like in a month or so.
This would be cool.
Yeah, we didn't discuss the details except that I mentioned it in the marketing chat, and the idea is that you remember the previous hackathon. It was a
It
disaster,
was it was a
and the reason
disaster.
it
Yeah.
was a disaster because you needed to write a smart contract, which is very difficult to do on. Oh, I hear your best friend. Um,
Apologies.
yeah, I think he says pump beam, but I'm not sure. Anyway, so the previous hackathon we did it with Encode Club, and Encode Club they're great, they're very experienced, but even them could not make anyone, and I mean no one could actually write a smart contract on Beam out of the box because even though we offered help and support and all that, but it was very difficult. C++, different technology. So in this time, what I was thinking to do is to provide three things actually. First of all, a basic smart contract that you can interact with several simple functions like store value, retrieve value, right? Something that you can use out of the box, and then you build an application on top of that. And this is just web technology. You just create an application with your favorite framework, whether it's React or Vue or whatever, and you integrate it with our existing infrastructure components like the WebAssembly wallet component. And right now it's just a single JavaScript file called utils.js that you use to communicate with it. But Magic Potato suggested, and we all immediately agreed to make it a proper library that you can install, and you get a clear API of how to use the wallet from your web page. And I think that it will be much easier for people to get started with that, especially now that we have a lot more examples of really working applications out there that you can use as a starting point. Back in the day, we didn't have almost anything. The second idea is that if you want to kind of combine several existing applications, you can do that, because one of the advantages of our architecture is that you can create an application that talks with several contracts and uses the combination of their app shaders to contact each contract independently and then combine their outputs in the UI. So you can do this collage of different existing apps, let's say bands and NFT gallery, right, or something like that. And the third thing was, like, if you have a really, really cool idea that everyone agrees would be great to see implemented in a hackathon, we can build you a custom contract, right? So we will announce it in advance. People will submit their suggestions, their ideas, the teams, and everything. And then if one of those ideas stand out and we say, this really sounds cool, we will discuss it with the community and provide a custom smart contract. Once again, since it's a hackathon, it doesn't need to be immediately production level. Obviously, the hackathon will take place on .NET to make it faster and easier and all that. So yeah, that was the idea. And we will tweet about it. We will start discussing it with the community. And I think it's something that can be done in relatively short time, and it will, in my opinion, be a great engagement tool for attracting developers, showing them how, I wouldn't say easy yet, but how possible it is to develop on Beam. Even though Magic Potato, would definitely say that it's not that easy, and he would be correct. But it is possible.
One of the big benefits I think now versus when we did the encode one is having a lot of these applications in the DEX and the Nefrit stablecoin, the voting, and all of this kind of stuff to use as examples and kind of iterate off of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always easier to start from something that's working and then modify it.
Absolutely. I have to apologize for any background noise. My puppy has decided that after sleeping all day, now would be a great time to get excited and act like a lunatic.
Yeah, that's
As is the
usually
way.
the routine. Exactly, this is the way. Yeah. Yeah. So I think hackathon would be a good idea. And of course, in terms of like our marketing efforts, we need to continue everything we've been doing and do more of it and better. I think that the threads from Beam Intern were very good and engaging. And somebody in the green community even said something like, "Why don't we have such community members to create such threads about us?" And I'm like, "Shut up! Your marketplace, like market cap is higher than Beam anyway." So yeah, no, I'm kidding. But yeah, it was great effort, and I see a lot more engagement, whether it's replies to Monero people or like in general. And I think it's working. I think it's great. And we need to kind of keep it up and continue engaging with especially privacy coin communities. There are quite a few privacy projects out there, whether it's Firo or Zeno and Monero, obviously, right, and Dero, that have people who are already interested in the topic. And I think we can try to show them like what Beam has to offer, I don't think it's necessarily has to be like one or the other, but I do think that a lot of those people are not exposed enough to Beam and especially our kind of smart contract and DApp capabilities. And I think they would like what they see. So yeah, just continue this engagement. Once we have the web wallet, it will be much easier. But even now, I think we have all the tools that we need to, to start uh, exposing ourselves and expanding our reach to these communities, and of course everybody else in crypto as well.
Absolutely. And like you said, people that are already interested in privacy and may not know about Beam, these are very like potential beamers, and these are the best people to approach initially, and think that also like outside of these privacy communities, continuing to do what we're doing and spreading the word, a lot of like great content online from the community and on Twitter and this kind of thing. Shout out to DB, who's doing some great threads on all of the stuff in the Beam ecosystem and the community in general. Like it's great to see, and I feel like we're building some momentum, not just in the like releases space, but also in the like making noise and getting attention and this kind of stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's it's really fun. Like going into Twitter these days, a lot of great tweets about Beam, for Beam, and yeah, I really like it. It's an amazing feeling. Let us answer some questions before we run out of time. So, first of all, we have quite a few questions, like, several questions, like not too many today. The first one is about the ability to set custom transaction fees.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so it's an important one, and um, we need to add this to the UI. We did avoid it for now, but now that we have smart contracts, and there is much more importance for setting fees than there was previously, because when you are sending funds to someone or sending just beam to someone, and the network is never kind of busy, so it usually gets finalized within one block, maybe two at the maximum. But now that you have smart contracts and events that take place like simultaneously, like there is something happening at the moment, and you do want your transaction to go through faster. Uh, you do want to influence the fees. Also, with the addition of the high frequency transactions, which I'm going to talk about also in a minute. I have some point to make about it. Um, but it became more important. So yes, definitely, this is one of the things that we need to add. Another thing that we need to add is a custom slippage control for the DEX. Right now, it's kind of fixed to 1%, and that's like you cannot influence that or set that from the application. So yeah, we have this on our to-do list for the next versions. Um, Another thing that we need to do for a long, long, long time ago is to remove the ability to deposit Beam into the old DAO staking program. Yeah, it's just an omission, and we will handle it. Having said that, it's important to remind people out there, like if you are listening, there are still, I think, about 4 million. Let me check real quick. About 4 million Beam still just lying there in the contract, and nobody's, yeah, 4.5 million Beam is just lying
yeah.
there.
They're occasionally coming into the chat and asking, but if you do have Beam in there, you should withdraw it. You can do
Yes,
more with it and put it into the DAO voting DApp and get ready for upcoming votes.
yes, or you can, put it into Nifrit and then put your Nifrit in the stability
True.
pool and get BMX this way, or you can put it into the Beam BMX pool and get farming. So there are a lot of ways to, and maybe we need to produce a guide, right? So in general, there are a lot of options today, and all of them are better than just, having them sit there doing nothing. One thing that remember back in the day there were some bots that were depositing minimal amounts. I wonder if they still have all of those keys.
Yeah, true. I mean, yeah, yeah,
Uh, if you don't remember the story, there was this weird formula that we used, and it kind of incentivized a lot of smaller wallets to stake. And somebody did that. Somebody actually did like create, I don't know, thousands of wallets, and each of them staked like 16 beam or something like that, which was the minimal amount. Yeah, so now this person will have to go and kind of manually extract, or not manually, maybe he'll write a script, but still extract all of those 16 beam back.
I hope
Uh,
that it is their beam still in full.
yeah, I hope there were no bugs in that script. Um, yeah, so but it's been like that for a long time. I mean, really a long time. And anyway, that's like kind of like reminder or like uh, to just get those beam out and do something useful with them. So the last question that I have here in this list is about the Tor
Yep.
integration. And so let me tell you the story of Tor integration. Long time ago, several years ago, we did some basic integration with Tor. The problem is that if we wanted to integrate the nodes like out of the box to use Tor, we would have needed to change large parts of our network mechanisms and addressing schemes and all that. So we didn't do it. We only integrated with the wallet, and we still have documentation on that lying somewhere. Uh, and then it was something, but it wasn't good enough. So it's not like you just click one button or like flip the switch to Tor on, Tor off. So nobody actually used it. This idea was that like if you want this kind of security, just run through VPN or whatever. But I agree that it's needed and it's useful. I'm not sure we will be able to prioritize, to be honest, in the kind of near future. Uh, the other idea that was also mentioned, which I find even more interesting, is to integrate with NIM. Somebody mentioned that in the community
Yep.
channel.
And this,
And
like NIM is a mixnet or something like this that's kind of focusing on the privacy at the communication level. Is this right? Yeah.
yeah, it's a project that does layer zero privacy.
Yeah.
And the difference between them and Tor is that they're running an incentivized
Yeah.
network. We actually are kind of familiar with them and good friends, and we did some interviews together. There was this short period of time where I did some interviews on YouTube. So if you look back in history, you will find my interview with Harry Halpin, who is the founder of NIM. And we did talk about integration options back then, but then they were busy with their mainnet launch, and we were busy with other things, so it kind of got away from us. But I think it would be possible to kind of review this and see where they are exactly, what is working, and then integrate with them. I think it can be maybe even more interesting than Tor in some ways. So we definitely should look into that. Um, that was like one of the things that did not come through. Like most of them did, but like there is this kind of Guy Corem wish list for Beam, like things that Beam should have been doing. And I think this is one of the few unchecked checkboxes, like this, the Tor integration done properly with like kind of built-in support.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
like
was gonna say the Tor support story starts with Kakaran.
something like that. Yeah. Yeah, but it's funny. But 5 years later, and here we are. Most of the things from that long list are done. So it's impressive. That list seemed almost impossible back in the day, but now we are almost there. So yeah, so these are all the questions that I had in the list. Let's see if we have any additional ones. Not too many, I see.
There
Um,
is one
okay, just one.
question in the community chat that I saw. Oh, what does rewards and day mean in the Beam liquidity mining? Is this just how many BMX you get per day? I'm guessing.
Probably. It's probably Russian for how much rewards you have in a day. Yeah,
Okay.
most likely.
Cool.
But let me check this. Let me check that I'm not misleading you. Uh, Let me find it, and I will try to understand what it means. Sometimes we're not very, eloquent in our prompts. Yeah, yeah, that's how much BMAX you're getting in one
Okay.
day.
Cool.
Okay, so what else is going on?
There was something else recently that I saw that was kind of interesting and interesting about the discussion around it. Did you see that Tether, the creators of USDT, I think they like for Q1. I don't know what month or
Oh
year it is. For
yeah,
Q1 they
yeah.
had like greater profits than BlackRock, whoever that is. I don't know, and a lot of like S&P 500 companies, and they're saying that they want to use 15% of like their profit to purchase Bitcoin. And then I saw a little bit of chatter like in Twitter and this kind of stuff comparing this to Luna. Like
Mm.
right before their collapse, they said, "Yeah, we're gonna buy lots of Bitcoin," and I think they did buy it, and then it started collapsing, and they sold it, or it disappeared, or I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, look, first of all, yes, I saw that article. It was like 300 million profit, I think, which was, yes, and definitely very large number compared to other, well-known companies that exist for many
Yeah,
years. Um, the story of Tether for me was that, like, I think it was a couple of years ago that there was this speculation whether all of these dollars are really
yeah,
there for, to back them up. And since then, two things happened. First of all, this story kind of disappeared from view. Nobody talks about it anymore.
yeah,
They are still doing a lot of profits, as we can see. And Circle even became a little more kind of, there was this bank that went bankrupt, and it wasn't sure like whether these funds from Circle that went into that bank would be recovered or not. So there was panic, and Circle, like the USDC, depegged for a short period of time. And Tether kind of, went under the radar, and everything is fine now.
yeah.
Uh,
I
like I don't think it's going to be the same story as Luna and Terra, because after all, yeah, there are some dollars there, so probably the reason to buy Bitcoin is different than just to kind of prop their reserves. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's like I find that Tether is one of the most fascinating companies in crypto, just like purely for how big it's got and like the lack of transparency. Like people trust it. I mean, even myself, I would personally trust. I'd like to throw that word around, but I would trust it more than USDC or something like this. And I don't really know why. Uh, but I find the whole tether thing very fascinating. But I guess like a lot of the criticism that I do see about them, and I want to preface this with like I have no idea about tether, and I don't encourage anyone to hold it or trust it or anything. But I guess a lot of the criticism I see about Tether is coming from like how they would have to operate given the business that they're in. I mean, they're trying to have a stable coin pegged to the US dollar, massive amounts of money. They're going to get a lot of shit from banks, and like they're going to have to be kind of in dodgy, sketchy jurisdictions and this kind of thing to begin with to be able to operate in the way that they've chosen to operate.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like if you read or if you read or saw any good articles about Tether, please send them to us via the community or directly, because it's really interesting. Um, there was a time, like I don't know, some time ago, that I was kind of expecting some kind of a big audit which would reveal that, either the reserves are really 100% or the reserves are not 100%, but something, right? After all of this noise that was kind of people talking about it. But none of that happened. There was no audit. Instead, almost everybody else got either sued or threatened to be sued. I don't know, Paxos, Ripple, like whoever, uh, but not
Yeah.
Tether. And I'm like, what is like, and then I just kind of, stopped thinking about it. But yeah, it's really fascinating. I agree. Another thing that is really surprising to me uh, is how little the kind of collateralized stable coins are known outside of DAI. So there is liquidity, which is performing very well, has a very interesting mechanism that we know that Nifrid is also based on, and it has a lot of benefits. Doesn't have any active governance, but it's relatively small and unknown, and I think it's a big omission, like for people who are seriously into crypto. By the way, one of the points that I think we can learn even from this ledger story is that, after all, decentralized is better. I don't know how to explain it. Like, if it was open source, if it was kind of more open in any way, it would have helped in this situation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's important. So yeah, like, I mean, if you are into stable coins and you want to, obviously, like, yeah, it's nice to have some US dollars in the bank, but if we are going with the true way of the crypto, liquidity, in my opinion, even DAI is much better, in the long term, to understand how they work and how to use them. Um, and obviously, Nifrita is a confidential stablecoin. So yeah, I think it's in the long term that's what's going to survive, because one of these politicians, I don't remember who it was, even managed to somehow say that the stablecoin is a security.
Nice. Yeah, doesn't surprise me. I think I remember that it was USDC or something, and they're saying it's a security for some weird reason. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm like, how is that
yeah.
possible?
And I guess it goes back
But
to what you said earlier at the start of the space about like some of the regulation that's being proposed in Europe being kind of vague and stuff. Maybe this is like a, a strategy so that they can kind of say whatever later on. Like it's saying something, but also giving the kind of freedom for the future to call USDC a stablecoin, for example, as a security. Sorry.
yeah, I mean, very difficult to figure out the
Yeah.
reasoning. Uh, Which reminds me on one thing that was discussed in the community, and I don't think we talked about it before, but there was this kind of discussion about the DEX on Beam, in terms of like whether it needs to be upgraded to more sophisticated mechanisms like Uniswap v3, and things like that. So I just wanted to kind of briefly talk about it for a few minutes towards
Cool.
the end. So right now, BeamDex is very simple. It works like Uniswap v2, which is the classic kind of way of building AMMs. It does not have any routers. You basically select the pool yourself, and you decide like where you trade. And it doesn't have any additional mechanisms. Now, Uniswap v3 is very, very different from Uniswap v2. I used to kind of investigate and learn about it some time ago. The math there is it's absolutely
Yeah.
crazy, because the idea of Uniswap v3 is that more effective use of your liquidity. Instead of putting your liquidity across the entire price range, you focus it around the current price, and this means that you can do larger trades within some range around the current price with less of a price
Yeah.
impact. It is important indeed, and uh, it's important mostly when you do have a lot of trades and a lot of
Mm.
liquidity. And we are very, very, very far from the point that we actually need that.
Yeah.
This is the one point. The second point is that when you are a liquidity provider in Uniswap v3 pool, you cannot just provide your liquidity and go, about your business, you need to constantly monitor whether your liquidity is still within the price range, because if the price moves and your liquidity is outside, you're not making any profits from your liquidity.
Yeah,
You need active management, which is not simple because there are fees to move your liquidity. So it's very difficult to manage this, like whether you are a liquidity provider or a trader. So I think it's a little bit too early for us.
I'd have to agree,
Yeah,
and like it makes it, at least for me, it feels far more difficult to comprehend and like interact with Uni V3 versus Uni V2. You can throw it in there and forget about it and come back later, and it will be
yeah,
obviously different, but different in a kind of systematic way. Whereas with V3, you don't know whether you have all of one asset or all of the other, or yeah,
yeah. It's much more complicated to calculate anything
feels
there.
like a very
Uh,
like a very sophisticated full time job or something.
but having said that, the idea is brilliant. I mean,
Yeah,
the way you use liquidity more efficiently is, I think, it's amazing. So look, when the time comes, and we will feel that there is a need for that, we will obviously consider it. But as of now, I think these concerns are a little bit premature.
yeah,
Okay, so great. It was nice, to talk about all kinds of stuff, not just kind of beam update one after the other. But don't worry, there's always next week when the updates will come back with the web wallet will be finally there, and the mobile I hope so will also be out by next week. So we will see you next week, and thank you very very much for being with us, and thanks, Gus.
Alex, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you to all of the community, those that joined, and those that are putting in a lot of effort and support in this kind of thing. Massively grateful, and keep it up.
Thank you.
See you next
See you
week.
soon.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.